Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. The fact that I'm sitting before you right now is a small miracle because getting to sit down for these like longer sit down videos instead of just like a vlog, it's not easy these days. Okay, I just wanted to take a little pause to bring to your attention you can probably hear Decker, I'm currently nursing. The fact that I thought I was saying the word easy there and I literally didn't. It's not easy these days. That is the definition of mom brain. And then also, let's just pretend that the stain you're about to see on my shirt when I move my hands doesn't exist, okay? It's just getting like everything in order. Like, okay, has Decker been fed or does he have a bottle ready? Is someone with Decker? Zach is with Decker right now. It's a lot, but I really wanted to sit down and share my postpartum experience because, I mean, first of all, hearing other people's postpartum experiences helped me so much. And it was still like just crazy and insane and something that I was prepared for but also not prepared for. And also, I mean, I definitely don't want this to scare anyone. Like, that's not what this is at all. But yeah, I did go through some like hiccups, some bumps in the road. And by the way, these are things that you probably won't even go through. You live and you learn. And obviously this was all brand new to me. It is like the craziest experience ever because for most of us, like, something happened during birth that's going to make you not feel too great, right? Like whether you got a C-section or you had a bad tear. I had a 3rd degree. And then so you're like injured essentially. Like you either got a major surgery or you're injured. You're expected to take care of this little thing. Like you have more responsibility than you've ever had in your life. And if you're like me, you can barely walk and you also can't sit because that is like the craziest thing with a really bad tear. You literally, like, all you can do for even a little bit of relief is lay. Like sitting, horrible. Walking or standing, awful. So that really made my beginning stages of like motherhood or the immediate postpartum very, very difficult, I have to say. And it sucks. And there was just no avoiding it, right? Like that was out of my control. And I remember coming home from the hospital. This is kind of like where my story, my journey begins. Because, by the way, like I like literally feel like it didn't begin in the hospital. I barely like remembered the hospital. I was just so out of it. Not that I was on like any crazy painkillers. I was just taking a leave. It wasn't that. It's just that I was like in so much pain that like I could barely function. It just was insane. And by the way, I look back on immediate postpartum, like the first 2 weeks of Decker's life. It's as if I'm looking at it as if I was a different person. Like that's not me. Like it's just, it's crazy. I even look at it as if it wasn't even Decker. Like Decker is a whole different human right now. It just was like, oh my gosh, the craziest experience. And I have to say, like, I was warned about some of the things in a good way. Like, I'm really glad people in my life were like, hey, by the way, like this could be difficult, or like, here's what I went through. And I was still like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. A lot of it you can't control because of hormones. I mean, like, there's just no controlling feeling like sad or just weird for no reason. And like the one like saving grace is just like knowing, okay, this is normal. I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to go with it. This is normal. So they say, which was my experience. So night one home, one of like the hardest parts for me where Zach and I were sitting in our bedroom, we're holding Decker, the family's all there, and I was just so upset, and I started crying because I remember I was like, Asher's not happy, our dog, who at the time was like 10 months old, and that was really, really, really hard for me. And by the way, like, we had been home for a few hours. I feel like I was projecting, like, I knew this transition probably wasn't going to be the easiest for Asher. I mean, no matter how much I have tried, no, he's not getting the same amount of attention he was before. I mean, he was literally like my only child, my baby before. That was really hard. I was really upset about, like, I just felt like Asher was just like, what's going on? Like, why are my parents holding this like little thing? So Zach was like, Clancy, like, what are you talking about? But I just was really upset about that. And then I distinctly remember sitting there, this was probably like the middle of the night, like during one of our feeds, and just thinking, like, it is not healthy to love a human being this much. Like, nothing could have prepared me for how much I would love this little being. Like, and obviously I love him the same, if not more now, but like at the time, like, you're just not used to it. Like, and you just don't even know what to do with that love. And a lot of that love, unfortunately for me, translates into anxiety. And like, okay, I love this thing so much. Like, now, like, what can I do to protect it? And like thinking of all the horrible things that can go wrong. And truly it was, I feel like, night one when my anxiety definitely formed. I've have not been diagnosed with postpartum anxiety, nothing like that. But like, I mean, if you look back, and I'm going to get into this, yes, I 1000% had postpartum anxiety. Like, yeah. And the thing is, like, this should not be a shock. And it wasn't a shock. I'm an anxious person to begin with. Like, of course I was going to have postpartum anxiety if you know anything about me. Like, I distinctly remember we put Decker in his bassinet that very first night to go to bed. And like, I had this crazy irrational thought, but it was a true thought in my head. We need to stand on guard. Like, Zach and I need to take turns being on guard watching Decker, because we cannot just let him go to sleep and like not be watching him to make sure everything is okay. And oh, I actually totally forgot. I mean, the true reason this all formed, we were in the hospital and the pediatrician came by, not his pediatrician, but just a random one to like just, give him his final check. And he mentioned to us, and this is great that he mentioned this to us, right? Like, he needs to, and this has probably saved so many lives, but it just wasn't the best for me to hear. He said, whatever you do, do not fall asleep with Decker in your arms. We have lost quite a few babies that way every single year. Well, that little phrase got locked in my brain and manifested itself in so many ways to this day. I mean, I'm so much better now, and like, I'm so relieved that I just have so much more like faith. I don't know. But yeah, that ended up being the nail in my coffin, honestly. So that night, I ended up like realizing, Clancy, that's a really irrational thought. Like, Zach and I cannot stand guard like throughout the night. Like, that's just not going to work. I know it's not. I mean, if Zach would have said like, I'm down, I would have been like, let's do it, say no more. But I knew he would have been like, Clancy, you're insane. But we went to, I mean, did we go to sleep? Oh my, like, I literally was like just up all night, it felt like. And then as soon as I went to sleep, that's when the sleepwalking begins. And that has been a huge struggle of mine throughout this journey, even to this day. Last night I sleepwalked. It's not that I'm walking, but I'm talking and I'm up. And each time it's that well, it has changed. At first it was like, I'm holding Decker and like, I don't know what to do. Like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. Like, it's just always that I'm holding Decker and like, I don't know what to do with him because he's like in our bed and like, that's not safe. And oh my gosh, guys, the first night we were home, how could I forget this? I'm gonna tell the story from Zach's point of view. He's fast asleep. He's a new dad. His son is in the bassinet. His wife is sleeping next to him. He wakes up to his wife screaming that Decker is under the sheets and we're crushing him. Okay, like, so Zach now he knows every night I sleep talk. At the time, literally thinks Decker is under the sheets. And he's like, what? And we are both searching under the sheets. Me, because I'm sleep talking, and Zach, because he's just confused and like not realizing I'm about to take him on this sleep talking journey for months. Yeah. And then eventually he's just like, Clancy, like, he's not here. He's in the bassinet. And so like, we have determined like that is like a really helpful thing for Zach to tell me when I'm sleep talking. Is I'm always like, Zach, he's here, like, what do we do? Get him out. Like, that keeps happening. But like, the big thing like Zach has to say is like, Clancy, like, look over, he's in the bassinet. And that always seems to snap me out of it. I'm just like, oh. But then my brain, of course, decides like, oh, okay, like, let's pull a fast one on Clancy. What was going on for like a full month was every single night when I woke up, it was actually that I was holding a different baby, like a stranger's baby. I sound insane, by the way. Like, I promise I'm okay. A stranger's baby, and I didn't know where to put him because I kept looking over and I saw Decker in the bassinet. I couldn't put two babies in the bassinet. He wouldn't fit, and also that'd be so unsafe. And I couldn't keep him in bed with us because we would crush him, essentially, according to the pediatrician. And according to, like, that's 100% correct. Like, I do not want to sleep with my baby in the bed. And I just don't know what to do with him. And I later learned that, especially in the early days, why this was happening, like, so often and so strongly. I truly was feeling something. It was because I'm breastfeeding, my milk letting down, which happens a couple times a night. So when your milk, like, kind of, like, comes in, or, like, you have, like, that letdown, it feels, at least for me, like, kind of like bee stings, in a way, like a little stinging, pressure. So in my head, that pressure was me holding a baby. Yeah, I realized that. I sound psycho. Like, I promise I'm not. Like, I'm really not. Like, I'm doing okay. That first week, I had to just literally wake up every 20 minutes and just look at him. And poor Decker, he's just sleeping. I would shine my little phone flashlight in his face because I needed to, like, see movement. Like, Yes. So we ended up going to the pediatrician, and I'm like showing her photos. I'm like, do you think he looks like he's sleeping safely like this? Like, because he kind of like went to the side a bit, and she's like, that's fine. She probably was like, oh my God, this woman's a psycho. It just was that the whole thing about a baby rolling over on its stomach and not being able to pick its head up, like that freaks me out so much. And it's like, it's so irrational, at least back then, especially like, do I really think that my 1-day-old baby is strong enough to roll over? Yeah, I did. I was like, oh, it's gonna be my Decker if it's anyone who that's gonna be strong enough. So that was not great. And then a whole other can of worms got opened when we went to that first pediatrician appointment, because babies after they're born naturally lose weight. And honestly, a lot of it, I mean, they are losing weight, but a lot of it's just fluid. Like, he's born and he was so swollen. Like, oh my gosh, it was as if I gave birth to like almost like what you'd imagine like a sumo baby, like a sumo wrestler baby. I don't know. Very swollen. So they do lose weight, but you got to keep an eye and make sure, you know, they then bounce back and gain it. I think they don't want them to lose more than 10% of their weight. So he was born at 8 pounds, 12 ounces. And when we checked out of the hospital, he weighed 8 pounds. And then when we went in for our first pediatrician appointment, which was like 3 or 4 days later because it was like a weekend involved, he was 8 pounds, 1 ounce. That's not good if he's only gaining an ounce over the course of days. But, and this just goes to show, like, you have to advocate for yourself. The doctor, who, I mean, to be honest, this is no longer his doctor, said his weight looks great, da-da-da. And, like, I kind of stopped her and I said, does his weight look great? Because I don't think so. And then she double looked and was like, oh, he was born at 8 pounds, 12 ounces. Okay, like, we can do weight check-ins for him, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, thank God I asked. Oh, and by the way, really thank God I asked, because a week later, we went in for our weight check-in. And by the way, I have chosen to breastfeed. I always said, like, yeah, I'll see if I can breastfeed, give it a shot. First of all, I just want to tell you guys, if you are pregnant or planning on having kids, like, I would suggest preparing a little more than just being as lackadaisical as I was. Like, yeah, I'll just give it my best efforts. I didn't take a class. Yes, I did read, like, I had 2 baby books I read that, like, had whole things on breastfeeding, but, like, I didn't truly know. It has been a journey. So I had been breastfeeding him all that week, thinking, like, oh my gosh, we're getting his weight up. Come on, like, we're doing it. Yes. We go in for his next appointment. I will never forget, after a full week of feeding him, like, babies that are healthy and thriving at that age are supposed to be gaining an ounce a day. We put him on the scale, and he was 8 pounds, 1 ounce. He hadn't gained. I was so sad when we saw that. Like, I just remember being like, in that moment, my first thought was, I'm about to make feeding this baby a full-time job. Like, I am literally, like, I'm not doing anything for the next week other than thinking, baby must get fed, feed baby. Like, literally all I was thinking. So they told us to do, like, all right, we'll do another weight check-in in a week to see, like, what's going on here. Like, we're not gonna, like, pull the plug on breastfeeding just yet. Like, keep doing what you're doing. But I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I booked an appointment with a lactation consultant who came in. Life-changing for us, guys. Like, I am telling you, book the lactation consultant appointment. In my head, I was like, this is just pointless. I feel like, what can she possibly say? Like, we're breastfeeding. Like, I don't know what to tell you. She comes over and she's like, we're gonna get a starting weight. So if you want to put him on the scale, I put him on the scale. This was 2 days after our doctor's appointment. He weighed 7 pounds, 14 ounces. When I saw that he was continuing to lose, not only is he not gaining, he's actually losing at this point, and he's lost almost a pound of his weight. I was like, I was distraught. Like, I didn't know what to do, and I just was like I just felt so helpless. Like, you know, Decker had been in my belly, and I mean, I always feel like I need to correct it when I say that. Obviously, I know, like, technically he's, like, in the uterus, okay? Like, I'm not stupid here. But yeah, he was inside me getting all of the nutrients he could ever need, and then the second he gets out in the world, like, I can't even feed him. Like, it just felt so helpless, and I felt so horrible about that. And luckily, you know, we got the weight. I told the lactation consultant, like, this is not good. She took one look at her latch and she said to me, are you in pain? Like, does that hurt? And listen, I had just gone through a 3rd-degree tear. You could have, like, chopped my arm off, it felt like, and I just would be like, that's nothing compared to the 3rd-degree tear. Had it been painful in hindsight? Yes. There were times he would latch on, and I remember distinctly like being to Zach, like, I am going, like, this stings. This really stings. Like, really sharp, horrible pain. And I was just like, I'm determined to feed this baby. So like in my mind, this sounds so bad, but like it almost was good. I'm like, I am messing this all up. So the more pain, the better. Like it's supposed to hurt. Like, what is it? Like beauty is pain. Like that type of mindset, which is stupid. And so I'm like, I remember at first I was like, no, not really. And then she kind of like literally was like wincing looking at it. And then I was like, I mean, like, if I really think about it, like, yeah, I guess it does hurt. Of course it hurt. His latch was so shallow. I mean, I don't want to get too into it because I could do a whole thing on breastfeeding, but like basically they're supposed to latch onto like the full areola. He was not doing that. It was the most shallow latch, which yes, is painful. In the hospital, I had blood on my hospital gown because he was injuring me with that shallow latch. And I just kept going with it. I was just like, we just got to keep powering through. But lo and behold, the meeting with the lactation consultant went great. She fixed the latch. And I remember she said, she was like, what's going on right here? I could literally take a picture of and put it in a textbook. It's perfect. If you keep this up, he is going to start gaining weight. And we did like a before and after weigh-in. And like he had taken in, he took in an ounce and a half, which isn't even an incredible amount, but like we were just both learning, obviously, and I was just so determined to make it work. And I had read, obviously fed is best, that is 100% the case, but sometimes that mantra can be bad for moms who are struggling with breastfeeding, and it can make you not even want to try. You're just like, okay, like fed is best. But I'm so glad that I kept trying and I kept at it. Obviously I would never do it at my baby's expense, but all of the professionals kept telling me like, keep going, like we're going to see how this plays out. And he started gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining. And right now he's like going like off his he's gaining a lot. Let's just say that. If you know anything about babies, and we just went to the pediatrician today, the average amount that they drink a day of milk is between 24 and 32 ounces. A couple weeks ago, decided to exclusively pump for the day because I'm like, we literally feed for like 7 hours a day. Obviously, a lot of it is comfort sucking. So I'm like, well, how much is this man drinking? He drinks between 38 and 42 ounces. The pediatrician said he is overeating a little bit. She's not concerned because it is breast milk. If it was formula, that'd be a little different. But I mean, hey, I'd rather it than him lose weight. I will never, ever complain of a dirty diaper in my life. I will never complain about changing a diaper because when he was losing weight, he wasn't making a lot of dirty diapers or wet diapers. And I remember just thinking like, I know for a fact, like, this is not enough, like that he's not doing enough. It's made me so grateful. I'm almost glad we went through that journey just because I am so grateful for that. But it was so tough. I mean, I remember being in an absolute fog during it, like in between weight check-ins when I didn't know if he was just still losing. And can we go all the way back to that first pediatrician's appointment? If I never sounded the alarm bells about like, I don't think that this is a good weight for him, what would have happened? Because I didn't have another appointment scheduled for a whole nother month. He could not have afforded to be losing the amount of weight he was. Like what I've just noticed, because he was very lethargic, like that's really scary for me to think about. And it just goes to show, like, do your own research, be your own advocate or your baby's advocate. Oh my gosh. But yeah, like that was a really, really, really tough journey. They say that you are supposed to, for like the newborn phase, wake babies or make them feed every 2 to 3 hours. Normally, like, and that's at the start of one feeding to the next. At least for me, normally, you know, you do 3 hours. When we were going through that phase, I was so diligent every 2 hours. At nighttime, I would be setting alarms. Like, I would wake up to feed him at 1 a.m. He would take all the way until 2 a.m. to finish feeding, and I would wake us up again at 3 a.m. Like, I was not sleeping. I was running on fumes. I was just so determined for my baby to start gaining weight. I remember Zach one day saying, like, you are literally more diligent about feeding him overnight and making yourself wake up than even during the day. Because during the day, like, I'd be like, oh, okay, like, I'd just be, like, a little more loosey-goosey, not by much, but I realized, like, yeah, why is that? It was almost like I, like, had to, like, prove, like I will wake up for him. It just was not a good mindset to have, to say the least, but got it under control. One thing I do remember is in those early days, I don't even know what was up with this. I just was so out of it. I kept calling him the wrong name, a random name. This girl who I barely even know gave birth one day before me. Like, I know of her, like, you know, a friend of a friend, and posted her baby and the name. I'm literally not saying it because this is so embarrassing. I kept calling him the baby's name. I don't know why. I literally barely know these people, but I kept saying this name to him. Like, even like just in my head, I'd be like, oh, I have to pick up, instead of saying Decker, I said a whole nother name. Like, that is insane. Don't know what that was about. Really don't. I just was out of it. Oh my gosh. I have in my notes, this was another insane thing. At that doctor appointment, his first pediatrician appointment, I got a call from my OB being like, hey, we need to schedule I had like a 2-week follow-up. And I wrote down the date. And I had like another date written down for Decker's next doctor appointment. And when I went to go look back on my notes, there were 3 dates written down. And I was like, what's this third date? Like, I'm so confused. Like, what is this third date? I spent 2 full days trying to figure out what doctor's appointment I couldn't figure out. It was like a whole nother date, a whole nother time. And I just kept thinking, like, in 2 weeks, there's going to be some sort of appointment for me that I'm not going to show up to because I have no idea what this is. I kept searching my inbox. I kept searching my text messages. Couldn't find out. It was literally days later, days that I figured out. When I was on the phone with the OB, they gave me 2 different options for dates. I wrote both of them down and then I picked one. So it wasn't, that's another great summary of the place I was in mentally. I was just out of it. We also ended up at Cincinnati Children's on day 6 of his life because we thought he had jaundice. He passed all of his tests, great. But then all of a sudden my mom, when she was holding him, saw his eyes were yellow and he was looking yellow, and we ended up going there for literally no reason. Jaundice peaks on day 5 of a baby's life. So it might build up a little more, but then it will go back down, which is the case with Decker. But for us, I mean, I just remember being, and that was a really big low point, at Cincinnati Children's on day 6 of his life, where I knew he was losing weight and I was concerned about the jaundice, and like, it just was not great. I also, for anyone else who is dealing with postpartum anxiety or any anxiety in general, I know this is controversial. Doctors literally don't recommend it. It's the Owlet sock, and it's a sock that you put on your baby and it tracks their oxygen levels and some other things during their sleep. I had heard of it. Like, I was like, oh, should I put it on my baby registry? And I was like, no way. Like, that's stupid. That's just going to cause me more anxiety. And it ended up truly being the thing that made me be able to go to sleep, because I was not sleeping for nights on end. Like, even, I know new parents don't sleep, but like I was sleeping for 20 minutes at a time and then waking myself up and staring at him if I wasn't sleepwalking. Like, I just was not sleeping. So this sock, the reason, because I know some people have said like, oh, that's just going to cause me more anxiety. That wasn't the case for me, because it's not something you have to keep checking. It allowed me to just put it on him and not have to even think about things. Even, I mean, of course I thought about things, but like, think about things less, because it will alert you and it'll create like a little alarm, not in a scary way. It's actually like a little song if it notices his oxygen levels drop. So the reason doctors don't recommend it, or a lot of people, well, one of the reasons, they don't want to promote unsafe sleep environments. They don't want parents to be like, oh, I can have my baby sleep with like a stuffed toy, which is a huge no, because I have the sock on. Like, they don't want that. So like, no, is it like this perfect thing? No, but like, in my messed up postpartum brain, it helps to know like there is something there, because I just could not get over being so scared about him like rolling over and just not being okay. And it just was something like I just couldn't deal with on my own. He no longer uses the Owlet simply because like I just don't need it. Like, I feel more comfortable, more confident, but in those first few weeks, it is the only reason I was able to get sleep. It's the only reason. So that is something, and it's expensive. I think it was like $299. I got it on sale for like $250 for me to sleep. Like, it just was worth it. Every parent's going to be different about that though. Like, by no means do you need it at all. But if you're as crazy as me, it does help. So yeah, overall, our postpartum journey has been a journey, that is for sure. I have not gone through, I know postpartum depression is so common, and it's one of those things that isn't even just immediately postpartum. Some people get it months after, but I am very grateful that I have not experienced that at all. My main problem is that I'm the most anxious human ever, but it's just because I love him so much. And like, seriously, oh, like right now he's downstairs. I'm so excited once I turn this off just to go down there and like scoop him up and cuddle him. And I just love him so much. And like, that is where, like, that's why throughout all of this, like, I'm grateful. Like, all of this bad, right? Like, me freaking out about the breastfeeding journey and the weight and sleepwalking and all of it. It's because of a great thing. It's because I have this little baby who I love more than I could have ever imagined. And I'm so grateful for that. So this is what our postpartum journey has looked like thus far. Feel free to comment below and tell me about yours. I love hearing just like other moms' experiences. It just helps so much. And if you have experienced postpartum anxiety, feel free to tell me like what has helped you, because I am all ears. I really have gotten so much better. Like, I'm just so much more confident. I remember like being in the hospital and literally not knowing how to change a diaper. I took a baby basics class, by the way, but I just forgot, like, and by the way, like, literally, it's so easy. It's like self-explanatory, but I just remember being like, wait, what do I do? Like, what goes where? Because it just all went out the window, and I just remember feeling like I am like the most incompetent person ever. And now I feel I'm like, it's just that like maternal instinct that takes over. I'm like, no one can take care of this baby as much as me. I actually remember Decker was like 6 days old, and my mom was like, do you want me to like change his diaper? Like, I'll go change his diaper. And I remember thinking like, she will not know how to change his diaper. Meanwhile, my mom had 2 babies, including me. I'm like, she'll have no idea. Like, because there's a whole process that obviously she did for my brother. My brother's a boy. Like, you have to put the Vaseline on the circumcision and the belly button. Like, but I just remember I was like, this woman like cannot do such a thing. But obviously she can, and she has changed many diapers since then. One thing I also wasn't prepared for was just how much like you want to be part. Like, I can't explain it. Like, I don't want to like give away even the difficult moments. My mom offered even to take him at night for me to get sleep. Like, she offered for her to like come over and do the night shift, and I'm like, absolutely not. Like, first of all, I don't want to just stick him on my mom. Like, my mom deserves good night's sleeps. But second of all, like, I'm his mom. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to be a little sleep deprived. I'm happy to be a lot sleep deprived. Like, it's just like what you do when you love someone so much. So anyway, I've been rambling for far too long. Oh my gosh, let me get back to my baby. What am I doing up here all alone in his nursery? I love it up here though. We don't spend a ton of time up here yet because he's still in the bassinet. We do sit in this chair and rock, and oh my gosh, it has been amazing. But anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I hope this could have been helpful to like even just one human being. I'm telling you, if you are postpartum, you got this. You do. If you feel like you're going crazy, you are not alone. If you feel sad some days for no reason, or some moments for no reason, totally normal. Like, there's a lot that you can't control with the hormones and all of that. Just know it's normal. Just know you're going to feel sane again, and just enjoy your baby. You know, the time goes fast. Everyone says it, but it truly does. I cannot believe he is 2 months old at this point, and overall, I am so grateful. So I'm going to have my Instagram below. If any of you guys are moms, I've been enjoying really sharing like some real snippets there, like kind of just like day-to-day, some real life stuff. The real, the raw, the nitty, the gritty. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I've been like trying to end this video like 20 different times and I can't stop talking. Okay, I will see you guys in the next vlog. Bye.